Thank you all for being here and taking the trip. I want to thank Christine and Chris for sharing their stories and speaking up about the impact on their businesses and California businesses generally. Rob Bonta, California Attorney General. And we're here because President Trump's rogue and erratic tariffs are wreaking havoc on our nation's financial systems and causing uniquely immense harm to California's economy, the fifth largest economy in the world and a major driver of our national economy. Together with Governor Newsom, I'm filing our 14th lawsuit against the president in less than 14 weeks. This one challenging the tariffs he unlawfully imposed under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. We're asking the court to rein in the president, restore to our economy, and uphold the Constitution. The president is yet again acting as if he's above the law. He isn't. He is yet again violating the U.S. Constitution, overriding Congress's authority, and breaching the separation of powers. It's simple. Trump does not have the authority to impose these tariffs. He must be stopped. Before I get into the nitty-gritty, I want to express my great appreciation to Governor Newsom and his team for their leadership on this issue and many issues, and their partnership and collaboration with us on this case. We're proud to work with them, as always. And I want to recognize my team at the Department of Justice, especially the individuals in the government law section who worked tirelessly to make this lawsuit possible. It's an honor to work alongside so many dedicated public servants, both at the DOJ and in the governor's office. The gravity and instability of the situation at hand cannot be overstated. The risk to California, to our businesses, our workers, our families, cannot be overstated. As of April 2nd, Trump has imposed tariffs on every single one of the U.S.'s trade partners, sending shockwaves around the globe. On average, the tariffs are more than 22%, the highest in more than a century. For some trade partners, the tariffs are much steeper. Tariffs on our neighbors, Mexico and Canada, are 25% for more than half of goods. Canada has responded with a 25% retaliatory tariff, including on fresh produce and wine from California. The tariffs on China are now at an astronomical 145%. In response, China has retaliated with a 125% tariff on U.S. goods, including on California nuts and dairy products. Just 2 days after Trump announced his most sweeping tariffs, the U.S. stock market suffered the largest two-day loss in history. One analysis projects that the tariffs will make the U.S. economy, quote, permanently smaller by $100 billion annually, end quote. And another found that Trump's tariffs will cost the average American household $2,100 per year. Nothing resembling Trump's campaign promises to fix the economy and make life more affordable for Californians and for Americans. Given California's enormous economic footprint, the impact of these tariffs on our state, our businesses, our people is especially harmful. California is the nation's largest importer and second largest exporter, the largest when it comes to agricultural exports. In 2022, California's agricultural exports brought in nearly $24 billion. Mexico, Canada, and China happen to be our biggest trade partners. Over 40% of California's imports come from those three countries. And they're our top three export destinations, buying close to $67 billion in California exports, over 1/3 of all of our exported goods. Trump's tariffs are already hampering the state's ability as a major purchaser of goods ourselves to contract for, purchase, and sell goods. Already vendors have warned us that they're going to pass the cost of Trump's tariffs onto the state of California. Trump may claim he's a great businessman, but Trump's tariffs are truly terrible for business, and they're breaking the law. Let's get to our lawsuit. It focuses specifically on tariffs unlawfully imposed by executive orders that claim authorization under what's known as the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA. This is important because Trump claims this law is the reason he can impose these tariffs, and he is wrong. The truth is the IEEPA does not apply here. Trump has had to resort to creating bogus national emergencies that defy reason. He's even claimed there's an influx of illegal immigration and illicit drugs crossing over the Canadian border as the basis for imposing across-the-board tariffs on Canada. It is completely untrue. In actuality, less than 1% of fentanyl and illegal crossings actually come from Canada. The reality is the U.S. Constitution gives Congress the power of the purse. It's Congress's responsibility to set and collect taxes, duties, and excises, including, yes, tariffs, not the president's. Congress hasn't authorized these tariffs, much less authorized imposing tariffs, only to increase them, then pause them, then imminently reinstate them on a whim, causing our nation and the global economy whiplash. Trump is attempting to override Congress and steamroll the separation of powers. That means he's trampling over his own party, by the way, which currently controls Congress. Again, Congress hasn't given him the authority to impose these sweeping and chaotic tariffs pursuant to emergency powers, which means he can't do it. Bottom line, Trump doesn't have the singular power to radically upend the country's economic landscape. That's not how our democracy works. Trump may claim these tariffs send a message to our international partners, but Americans are the ones shouldering the burden. The message Americans are receiving is that your costs are going up. The farmers here in the Central Valley, the small businesses up and down the state, the families sweating over their household budgets to see where exactly they can squeeze out the extra thousands of dollars each year that these tariffs could cost. The cost of groceries and gas and other goods are rising. The cost of bananas, coffee, chocolate, wine, iPhones, video games, clothes, all on the rise. As Republican Senator Ted Cruz said, quote, tariffs are a tax on consumers, end quote. Couldn't say it more clearly. And we're feeling it. Seniors looking at their retirement savings are feeling it. Parents looking at the college funds they've built up for years are feeling it. Farmers looking at the crops they're counting on to support their families and pay their workers are feeling it. Trump's tariffs are a slap in the face to Americans, especially hardworking families just trying to get by. It's time to put this chaos to an end. It's time to hold Trump accountable to the law. With this lawsuit, we are. As Attorney General, it's my job to ensure California remains the best place to live, to work, raise a family, or run a business. That's exactly what I'm doing today. I'm proud to be alongside our great governor to fight for California's vibrant economy, businesses, workers, and families. And before I pass it off to my partner on this lawsuit, Governor Newsom, I want to give a final shout out to the folks on my team who worked tirelessly on this lawsuit. They don't do it for the recognition, but I'm going to recognize them. Zelda Vassar, Carolyn Downs, Laura Haddad, Shiwan Shea, Julie Veroff, Matthew Wise, Thomas Patterson, Christina Bull-Arndt, Ellie Bloom. We have a great team, and I'm proud of them. Incredible public servants, each and every one of them. With that, it's my great pleasure to introduce our great governor, Governor Gavin Newsom.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you, Mr. Attorney General, and most importantly, thank you, Christine, for having us and hosting us, and thank you, Chris, for your stewardship and leadership and willingness to be here and step up at this critical moment. Look, I think the Attorney General did an exceptional job in laying out the framework of this lawsuit and the why as it relates to the particular issues under the IEEPA, and notably issues that have been brought to the fore as it relates to the major questions doctrine recently by the Supreme Court. I would just highlight just two of the specific examples the Supreme Court used as it relates to the major questions doctrine on the issue of student loans. under the Biden administration, on the Clean Power Plan under the Obama administration, if they are consistent, then this lawsuit is a lock in terms of what the Attorney General has laid out and what this state is asserting. But I want to tell you what our state of mind is as it relates to the issues that impact the state of California, obviously the state of our union and the state of the economy more globally. We talk often about California being the fifth largest economy in the world. That is correct. We're also the largest manufacturing state in the United States of America, $412 billion output. And I want to put that in perspective. Texas is 41% smaller. It's a 41% larger share of manufacturing output just here in the great state of California. Puts in perspective something that often isn't communicated, I think, as effectively as it should be. By the way, the United States is the second largest manufacturer in the world, which is also something that I think is important to highlight. So the manufacturing footprint in this state is disproportionately impacted by the tariffs, disproportionate to any other state in the nation. Of course, we talk about the fifth largest economy in the world. Let's put that in perspective. We're 14% of the U.S. GDP. That is 50% higher than the next state. No other state will be more impacted by the impacts of this, as Christine said, uncertainty that is best described as toxic uncertainty because of these tariffs. Let me underscore that with more consideration and context to where we are. We are also the largest hunting, fishing, agriculture, and forestry state in this nation, 150% larger than the next state, Texas. When folks talk to us about the impacts, regional impacts of rural economies, you're talking about California. You're not just talking about the Midwest and places like Texas. You're talking about our state, the state of California. Almonds you see around us, export dependent. Pistachios, export dependent. Dairy, export dependent. In fact, 43% of almonds and pistachios and dairy are export dependent in the state of California. Few industries will be hammered more than the toxic uncertainty of these Trump tariffs. The impacts, what more evidence do you need? Check your 401k. Check your portfolio. If it includes NVIDIA, you should check it right now. NVIDIA, the great California company, one highlighted by this same Trump administration over the course of the last 24 to 48 hours, just got hit today with a $5.5 billion charge. Great California company got hit with a $5.5 billion charge, sending the markets to tumble yet again today. NASDAQ down over 2% as I speak. The uncertainty is pronounced and it is profound in the state of California. Consider just the imports coming from Mexico, Canada, and China. 44% of all of the imports into the state of California alone come from just those three countries, $197.3 billion in 2023. The impacts of these tariffs, particularly on those three countries, disproportionately impact the state of California. Across the spectrum, the impacts are off the charts. We talk about regional disparities. The impact in counties like this, counties like Kern, rural parts of the state will be outsized. It's not just the coast and technology. Think about the impacts already in the mega region of Baja and San Diego. Chris, you were talking about the integration of supply chains and a deeper appreciation and understanding that decades and decades forming a relationship, building trust, manufacturing, one side of the border, assembling on the other side of the border. You think about the impacts, the automobile industry, electronics, aerospace, in our state alone, disproportionate impacts. So California, why California? Well, that's why. No state is poised to lose more than the state of California. So that's our state of mind. And that's why we're asserting ourselves on behalf of 40 million Americans. And I imagine if you caucus those 40 million Americans, you'd find few, I don't care where they were in the last election, that are celebrating this uncertainty, that are celebrating the largest tax increase in modern U.S. history. In essence, a sales tax. In essence, a sales tax, a regressive sales tax that hurts working folks, that hurts poor folks, that hurts hardworking folks like Christine and those that Chris represents disproportionately. This is recklessness at another level. The geopolitical impacts are outsized. The trade impacts are outsized, not just the economic. That's why we were up in Canada making a case anew to try to encourage Canadians. What the hell do we have on the Canadians? Mocking people in another country, one of our great partners? Talking about being a 51st state? The fact that we had to invest in advertising up in Canada and encourage people to come to the great state of California, where 2 million Canadians visited last year, is a sign of the times, a testament to the moment we're living in. We're 2,000 miles away from Washington, D.C. We're a world away from the values that are emanating out of the White House. Again, that's why we're here. That's why we are asserting ourselves. I can't imagine anything more unifying for a state at this moment than stepping up as we're stepping up here today on this critical issue. So I just, again, want to thank the Attorney General, who's not been timid. He mentioned 14 lawsuits. We overall have 15 when you had the one he wasn't directly involved in. I want to thank him, and I want to thank the legislature. Don't forget, we did a special session, seems like a lifetime ago. It was just a few months ago, saying we have an open hand, not a closed fist. And it was a sincere sentiment. We didn't want to go down this path. We were hoping we didn't need to go down this path, but we prepared to go down this path. And so I'm grateful, not just to the Attorney General, but to all of those members of his staff that he called out. I want to thank them for their partnership, their stewardship, the legislature, the same, for recognizing the severity of this moment. We talk about on goals. We talk about, stupidity. No, this needs to be updated in the next Wikipedia or the next encyclopedia as a poster child for that. It's a serious and sober moment. And I'd be, in closing, lying to you if I said it can be quickly undone. And that's why we have a unique responsibility to do more at this moment as well. I've been involved in, I think, 19 or so MOUs with countries around the world. We've been reaching out to foreign leaders. They've been reaching out to us. And the critical nature of subnational trade and people-to-people relationship cannot be understated at this moment. And California can and will play an outsized role in that relationship. We have got to rebuild trust. 80 years of economic dominance in just a matter of weeks being unwound by this kind of recklessness. And so we are here very mindful of the anxiety that this has imposed on all of you, and very mindful of our role and responsibility at this moment, not to be bystanders, and try to shape this debate and shape this conversation. And this lawsuit is a meaningful and justifiable effort to do just that, to be accountable at this critical moment in not just California history, but American and world history. With that,